Hello, this is Dr. Mears, and today we're going to be solving systems in standard form. We have a word problem here, and we're going to be making two equations in standard form. So let's go. If you have just tuned into the football game, your team is winning 27-18. In football, a touchdown and an extra point together are worth 7 points, and a field goal is worth 3 points. The announcer says they have scored 5 times on field goals and touchdowns and haven't missed a point after touchdown yet. Let X represent the number of touchdowns your team has scored, and Y represent the number of field goals your team has scored. So I'm going to read, reread, and annotate. So let's reread. You have just tuned into the football. Your team is winning 27-18. In football, a touchdown and extra point together are worth 7, and a field goal is worth 3. The announcer said they have scored 5 times on field goals and haven't missed a point yet after touchdown. Let X represent the number of touchdowns your teams have scored, and Y represent the number of field goals your team has scored. So first we have to define our variables. So as you notice, this last sentence I just underlined, I give you what the variables are. So I'm really for this type of question, looking to see if you're reading the question and pulling out what the X variable represents, or noticing that I tell you what the X variable represents. So it says X variable represents number of touchdowns your team has scored. So that's what I'm going to write, number of touchdowns. The Y variable represents, well, let's go back again to the last sentence as I annotated. The Y represent number of field goals. Okay. Part B, write a system of equations to model the above situation. Hint, what information are you given in the problem? So here we have to make two equations. And when we do this, sometimes I get confused by what the X variable and the Y variable represent and what the actual equations have to represent. So I need to go back and I need to make sure that I'm actually representing these equations correctly. So what are we talking about in the problem? We're talking about the number of touchdowns and the number of field goals. So this equation 1 is going to be number of touchdowns and field goals together. So number of touchdowns and field goals. So when we look, when you're going to have to combine the X and the Y. So let's see, how many number of touchdowns and field goals did my team make? So let's look. The announcer says they have scored 5 times on field goals, which is going to be my Y, and touchdowns. So they give you an equation right there. So they say field goals and touchdowns, so X plus Y, it's actually written backwards in the problem, but I'm going to switch it, I like my X first, equals 5. So that's the number of field goals and touchdowns that my team has made. So what's the second equation going to talk about? Well, what other things are there in the problem? We have field goals and touchdowns that they talk about. We also have points that they talk about. They actually say the touchdown and extra point are 7 and the field goal is 3. And they also give us how many total points we have. So this second equation are going to be points. So as you notice, we have X and Y variable representing two different things, and then we have these equations representing two different things. So we really have to pull out the information from the problem, and I do have some practices where you can do that. So we have, so for equation 2, let's look at points. So touchdown and extra point. So my touchdown is X, and that's worth 7. So 7 times my touchdowns. And I also have my Y, which are field goals, and they're worth 3 points, so 3Y. So touchdowns are worth 7, so 7X. Field goals are worth 3, so 3Y. How many points did that get? That got us to 27. So here's my two equations. I now have my system. I'm probably for part C going to have to solve it, so let's see. Part C, for what number of touchdown and field goals would they also be able to score 27 points in total? Hint, use the elimination to find your answer. Write your answer in a complete sentence using real-world context. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to use the elimination to find what the values of X and Y are. So I'm going to rewrite these. down here as x plus y equals 5 and 7x plus 3y equals 27. When we use elimination, what we want to do is we want to find a variable to cancel out that has the same number but opposite signs. There's no opposite signs here and there's no same number, so we're going to have to do some multiplication. So I think I'm going to want to cross out the y here. If I multiply, remember these are ones in front, if I multiply this y by the number 3, 3 times 1 is 3, I get to the same number. If I do a negative in front, negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, I get to the same number opposite signs. Remember, we're doing SNOs, same number opposite signs. All right, so when I multiply, I have to multiply everything. I can't just do the y. So I'm doing negative 3 times 1, which is negative 3x, negative 3 times 1, which is negative 3y, and negative 3 times 5, which is negative 15. This one down here I did not touch, still 7x plus 3y equals 27. I do always add these. However, when I do add them, I see that my y's cross out, which is why it's called elimination. And I'm going to do negative 3 plus 7. So negative 3 plus 7 is going to give me a 4x. I bring down my equal sign. I do negative 15 plus 27, and that gives me 12. Now I can solve for x, divide both sides by 4. My x is 3. So I already have my ordered pair here, 3, and now which is my x, and now I have to find my y. In order to find my y, I'm going to go back to either equation, doesn't matter. I'm going to pick this one up here, the top one. So I'm going to choose this equation. I'm going to rewrite it down here. X plus y equals 5. I see that my x is 3, so I'm going to substitute it in for this x. I get 3 plus y equals 5. Subtract 3 from both sides, and I find that my y is 2. 2. So I have x is 3, y is 2. Write your answer in a complete sentence. So let's see. It says, for what number of touchdowns and field goals will they be able to score 27 points? So let's go back. X is, I believe, the number of touchdowns, and that was 3. So my team needs 3 touchdowns and 2. The Y, remember, is field goals. Field goals. To score 27 points. And if you want to check that, all you do is you can put 3 and 2 back in for x and y. 2 plus 3 is 5. And you can put 3 and 2 in for here. So if we want to check it over here, just a little check. 7 times 3 plus 3 times 2. All I'm putting in is x and y. I get 21. Actually, yep, 21 plus 6. And 21 plus 6 is 27. So I did do my work correctly. My team does need 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals to score 27 points. This has been the video, Solving Systems in Standard Form. We looked at a word problem. We defined our x and y variables as they did just give it to us in the problem. We then went through the problem to see what exactly were they talking about. They always talk about 2 different things. So here is number of touchdown and field goals together and the points scored. Then from there we went on to solve the system so that we can actually find the x and the y needed to make 27 points. And lastly, I just went a little bit beyond the problem. I made sure that was right. So this has been solving. Hopefully it helped. Thank you.